Welcome to the Elevate podcast, brought to you by the Registered Master Builders. Each week we explore the ideas and practices that help us get the best from our businesses, our teams and ourselves. I'm your host, Ryan Castle. We talk to experts, advocates and business owners in the construction industry to share their knowledge, insights and experiences to help you build a better business and enjoy a better life. Now let the business building begin. Today on the Master Builders Elevate podcast, we are joined by Arwen Dickinson, Head of Delivery at Unispace out of the Auckland office in New Zealand. Arwen, welcome along to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
We've got a pretty exciting project to talk about today. Unispace was very heavily involved in the fit out of the Arup office here in Auckland. And you've achieved some pretty incredible things with that, which we're going to dive into. I wonder if you can start, what was your first initiation with this project? How did it come across the Unispace desk? How did you get involved?
Great question. So we originally met with Arup and they have a purpose, which is to shape a better world. They were looking to create a workplace somewhere that their people could take pride in, that really paid respect to the unique Aotearoa heritage, and a place that could really push the boundaries of sustainable design and construction. So we ended up with a goal where we wanted to create one of the most sustainable workplaces of New Zealand. And as part of that goal, we chose the Living Building Challenge.
Nice. We're going to dive more into that Living Building Challenge because it's a tough set of criteria that you had in front of you to deliver on. And specifically, what was your role on the project?
So in my role as Head of Delivery, I oversee our pre-construction and construction teams. So really within my role, I'm just making sure that we are delivering on our promises and we're staying within budget and on program and, delivering an exceptional client experience.
And Owen, did you tick all of those boxes? It was on time, on budget and full?
Yes, we did deliver this project on time and within budget. In fact, end-to-end, this project was delivered in 10 months.
I'm sure you did a great job. You mentioned the Living Building Challenge. Can you tell us what that entails?
The Living Building Challenge, it was a first for us at Unispace and a first for Arup, and it sets the highest standards for sustainable practices, health, wellbeing and resilience. And it really has a big focus on not just about reducing harm, but really considering the relationship between people, community and nature and how we can kind of positively impact our surrounds. The project for us really also aligned with our Unispace goals. So really considering how we can do better for the industry and how we can kind of consider the wider impact of what we do. So really focusing on sustainability, inclusivity and well-being.
And I think these are words that we hear a lot now and they're really easy to throw around. In those three categories, would you be able to give us an example of how you were able to execute those on this particular project?
Yeah, so for us, sustainability was really looking at the careful selection of products, how we're sourcing products, how we're minimising waste. Also how we're ensuring that this is a workspace that the Arup team can be proud of and that they want to be coming into the office.
And that's a bit of a challenge these days with more and more people going, oh no, I'm pretty happy working at home, thanks. So organisations, fortunately or unfortunately, maybe depending on which side of the desk you're sitting on, I think feel they have to work harder to create spaces that people really want to come to. And I'm fortunate enough to have seen some of the photos of the design fit out that you've achieved there. And we'll make sure we put some links of those in the show notes because it's pretty incredible. One of the things that struck me was it's in the Britomart sector in Auckland. You were working within a building space that is many, many decades old. How did that influence what you were or weren't able to achieve, both from maybe the ease of delivery of the project, but then also working within the Living Building Challenge guidelines?
Yeah, I think there was the considerations of the Living Building Challenge, which was one part of it. Then there was also the side of it that we were working within a Category 2 listed heritage building. So that added additional complexity and challenges to the project. So really considering how we could preserve the heritage requirements and not fix or connect into the existing structure. We also had a base build upgrade that was happening at the same time as our fit out. So it was a very busy site. It was a challenging site, and we also factored that in alongside the LBC.
I like how you just kind of string those couple of things along. Like, oh, it wasn't that hard. I can imagine it was super challenging. I imagine the traffic management plan in itself was brutal.
Yeah.
Okay. And look, a significant part of the build was the cultural integration. And I understand you work very closely with Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei, the local iwi, to bring that element to the build. Can you tell us how that process took place, and was it like just an early consultation with them, or were they involved all the way through the project?
They were involved right the way through. So I would say it was a co-design journey, and we worked very closely with local cultural advisors from Te Manu Topua, and that was really about ensuring we could create an authentic and meaningful outcome. So the concept of kaitiakitanga, which is really around that guardianship, so ensuring that we're maintaining our responsibility to sustain and care for the land so that the land can in return care for us. So it was a big focus on considering those minimal impacts to nature, how we can recycle, how we can reuse, and how we can reduce waste and support local businesses and suppliers. That cultural engagement framework and co-design involved a number of design workshops where we really explored the narrative, the journey, the biophilic elements and artwork, and how we could integrate that alongside the design and ensure that at the same time it was meaningful to Arup.
Marvellous. And have you had a similar level of cultural involvement in other projects you've worked on, or was this a new level for you?
Look, I think for us, Living Building Challenge was new. It was new for everybody. And that really was one of our key challenges that we were all learning as we went. So for us, this is actually going to be one of the first LBC certified projects in New Zealand, and it's on track to be the first interiors LBC project. So it really was a journey. It involved a lot of extensive training. We had to do a number of workshops, and a key part of that was obviously bringing all of our suppliers, our subcontractors along that journey to ensure that they understood what we were trying to achieve and how we could ensure that we met the Living Building Challenge requirements.
Okay. I know one of the things you managed to achieve was a 99% waste diversion rate. I wonder if you could explain what that means to us, and then practically how did you go about achieving that?
Yeah, look, for us, one of the key challenges of the project was waste diversion. So fundamentally, we needed a space that we could actually utilise to then be able to set up individual bins for different materials so that we could ensure we were able to provide that separation. So, we were luckily able to take an adjoining vacant tenancy and actually be able to set that space up with a number of bins that we could allocate for separation of waste. And I think the second part of it was ensuring that everybody was on board and got involved in this process. So a big part of that was asking all of our suppliers and subcontractors for their ideas on how could they work with achieving that target. And we ended up doing some pretty cool things. There were some really great ideas that came out of those discussions with our suppliers and subcontractors. So a couple of really cool examples were that we collected sawdust through a makeshift sieve, and then we donated that to compostable toilets. We took all of our old cable stools. They were collected by the electrician, and they were taken to a local childcare facility for arts and craft. Our soft plastics, we tried to minimise those as much as possible with deliveries, but then a number of our suppliers actually took that back. So, there were some great things that went on, and a lot of that was actually driven by our subcontractors and suppliers. And then the other side of it was just ensuring that, we could visually, track and share the success of that waste minimisation back with the team.
It's such a fantastic approach, and it's something that Master Builders is advocating for right across the construction sector as a much more collaborative approach. And I know we've seen contracts issued to subcontractors previously just demanding what they must do or mustn't do. And I just love that you took such a collaborative approach. And as you identified, you would never have got some of those ideas had you not involved them in the first place. And because they're involved in the planning and the process, right, they're much more willing to participate. And it's fantastic.
Yes, for sure. I mean, it's like this really was a team effort. We had a fantastic client. We had a great team at Unispace. We had some awesome partners, and then a great bunch of subcontractors and suppliers that we all work together and we're on this journey together.
Fantastic. May the trend continue in our industry. You're setting a high bar, which is brilliant. Now, as part of this, you were entered in New Zealand Commercial Project Awards, and you managed to pick up the Supreme Award for 2024. So firstly, congratulations. I know we very rarely embark on our roles or jobs or projects just to win the awards, but it's nice cherry on top, I guess, when you manage to get that kind of recognition from your peers. What did it mean to you and the team involved to pick up that award?
Look, I mean, I think we were absolutely blown away with our wins. In total, I think we won about 8 awards, and 5 of those awards were for Arup. So, for us, it was a huge acknowledgement and pat on the back for our client, Arup, our Unispace project team, project partners and subcontractors, and really recognising the hard work and out-of-the-box thinking that went into this project. I think from my perspective, the construction industry, we're always under very tight time constraints, we're under budget pressures, and there is always that challenge of how can we make a real difference whilst dealing with all of these, other issues. So it's great for us to be able to celebrate that success and be recognised. A really proud moment for us.
Congratulations. And I have some of the comments here from the judges, and they said a standout success, the Arup fit out could be considered a supreme winner based on the quality of its heritage engagement alone. And they go on to identify how many other fine elements of the project that you delivered and why you were such worthy winners. So that's an incredible outcome. And if you were to give some advice to maybe some of our listeners who might be thinking about whether they should or shouldn't enter awards, what would your advice to them be?
Well, I think first and foremost is to enter. For me, the New Zealand Commercial Construction Awards cater to everybody across the industry. That's everybody from some of our biggest commercial construction companies through to those boutique residential builders. We had mum and dad developers there. We had public and private bidders present. So for me, it's got such a broad range of categories and really recognise everybody across the industry and all of the great things that are happening. For me, some of the highlights were seeing just the diverse range of projects right throughout New Zealand. I think on one project they were looking at installing surveillance radars at Christchurch Airport. We had social innovation at Grazier Housing Development. There was modern healthcare at Wellington Day Surgery, and then was the Lake Brunner Service Centre on the West Coast. So lots of fantastic projects, big projects, small projects, just such a diverse range. So I think for me, some of those tips would be, don't think that your job is too small or not a big enough dollar value. It really is an inclusive event to appeal to everybody. I would also say don't be afraid to talk about the highs and the lows of the project. Not every project, well, I would say probably no project is perfect. The judges really want to know about what were the highs and the lows, what were the learnings. And I think for me is also really to focus on that collaboration and teamwork. Is there a way that this project has positively impacted your local community? Has it been a success for the client? has it had a positive effect on the environment? So it's really just more than just about being a dollar value or how flashy the project was.
Nice, good insights. And Alan, if I put you on the spot and said, could you highlight one thing that you're most proud of being involved in this project and one learning that came along with the project, what would they be?
Ooh, that's a good question. One thing I am proud of is really the accomplishments of the team. I think when we started this journey, there was so much that we didn't know about Living Building Challenge. And even when we spoke about the waste minimisation, just some of those little things that we accomplished along the way. So there was so much learning, but also so much collaboration across the team. And, that's fantastic to see. A learning for us, I think for us, it's really around the Living Building Challenge. Again, for us to be, the first interiors project in New Zealand targeting that, there was a lot of learning just on that, but also looking at, okay, we're going to look at doing this again. What's next? How can we improve on that? Where can we take it?
Brilliant. Thanks for those shares there. Sounds like it's been a fantastic journey, I'm sure with some incredible hard work on the way through, but the outcomes and learnings you've achieved have been epic. And I wonder if you can tell us about some of the outcomes from the Living Building Challenge?
Sure. So on this project, we achieved a 99% waste diverted from landfill. We ended up with 90% of our materials being free from toxic substances. We had about 50% of our materials were sourced from New Zealand. We also utilised a number of salvaged and recycled materials, items like the kitchen counter bricks were salvaged actually from the restoration of the base build. We had a bench top, which was actually comprised of 5,000 pieces of plastic waste. We recycled cut-off carpet to the supplier for reuse. We had 100% carbon neutral through carbon offsets, and we had 95% of the workstations within 14 metres of window. So there was a lot of natural light that's being provided into the space. And all of those outcomes are basically what we target through Living Building Challenge. And so it's been a really success in a number of avenues.
So you were doing project delivery all week and planting trees on the weekend?
Pretty much.
Good job. All of this sounds amazing. What kind of feedback or understanding around how the space has been used by the Arup employees? How's that? What kind of feedback have you had there?
Yeah, look, it's been really positive from the Arup team. They've actually seen that their utilisation rate of the space has increased to 95%, which is a pretty substantial number. And this is actually higher than what Arup had experienced in pre-COVID times. So I think a really good result on that alone. We've also had a lot of really positive feedback from them in that it's a space that their people consistently want to commute into the city for, and they really believe that this option supports their well-being. It instills a real sense of pride, and that they really believe that this workplace expresses their branded values. So after we finished the project, we conducted a survey just measuring all of these items to say, has this been a success? And I think we were pleasantly surprised.
You've certainly given me some great ideas for our next office upgrade ourselves. Thanks for that. And look, Alan, thank you so much for joining us on the Master Builders Elevate podcast today. I think what you've achieved with this project has been epic, and it's been epic because it's done good for community. It's done very well for the employees. It's done very well, I think, for the internal learnings that you've had as an organisation. The cultural fit, it just feels like you've ticked boxes left, right and centre. So amazing to do such a cool project, but have it deliver in so many different areas. Congratulations on that. And because of all those learnings you've had, I'm sure there's some people out there going, wow, that sounds amazing. We'd love to learn some more. Where can people connect with you to maybe get some more of those insights?
Certainly anyone can reach out to me on LinkedIn or on email. So Arwen.Dickinson@unispace.com. we welcome the opportunity to share some of our learnings and connect with other partners in the industry.
Thanks, Owen. Really appreciate your generosity there. And we'll make sure we put those contact details in the show notes of the podcast so people can find those easily. Thanks for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure.
Great. Thank you, Ryan.